Now, unless you're submerging at, like, less than half a mile an hour, you would be very far under the surface of the ocean, and light from the sun would be extremely dim, no matter what time of day it was, if there was any light at all. After about 3 hours of non-stop exploration, Jane began to tire. She signaled her fatigue to Tom. Slowly, and with the aid of a compass, they swam cautiously back to the craft. Entering the shuttle, it was apparent that the crew was becoming completely neurotic. A few men were crying softly, while others appeared to be either angry or frightened. What, they didn't bring anything to do with them? Like Scrabble or Boggle or even a fucking deck of cards? They just expected it to be totally strictly business, you know? Jesus Christ. Even space shuttles have something to do on them. You could bring a deck of cards, maybe even a movie, a tape player. It's fucking easy to do this shit. Why didn't they do it? We'll die down here, Pierre lamented. Oh my god, lamented. I think she used it correctly, but seriously. I can see our sudden end coming now. Sudden? You mean someone's gonna breach the hull, or... God damn it. You're dying slowly, not suddenly. I can even visualize the headlines. Atlantis crew dies in the ruins of Atlantis. What? When... Who the hell thinks, aside from this bitch, who the hell thinks that Atlantis is in the Bermuda Triangle? All that all that Houston knows is that they disappeared somewhere around the Bermuda Triangle. And this is it's unfathomable. My god. How could a news well, what serious news station would say that the Atlantis is in the Bermuda Triangle? Despite their nervousness, the rest of the crew began to laugh at Pierre's remarks. His comments were extremely funny in the face of the terrifying disaster that had befallen Atlantis. Jane tried to cheer them up. Whoa. His... Yeah, crazy is sometimes funny, but I hope that they're laughing for the same reasons that I pointed out, because unless if they took if they took the words themselves as a joke, then why? And why would she need to cheer them up if they're already laughing? I have an idea, she said. Tom, remember when we took that glass-bottom boat from Key Largo into the Bermuda Triangle? Who does tours into the Bermuda Triangle? It's famous for being a place where people disappear. You would think that even though it's famous, it would be somewhat taboo to go into it. I surely do, said Tom. That trip was a real blast, but what does that experience have to do with the problems we're facing right now? Yeah, Jane, what? I think we could explore the underwater territory in a sort of glass-bottom boat. What about glass top or glass sides? It would be easy to make a small one. Then we could operate inside the boat, still see the ocean floor, but be more comfortable and perhaps stay out longer as we attempt to surface. Oh my god, there's so many things wrong with this. You are deep underwater. A glass bottom boat is also, depending on how clean it is, it's also dirt. It can be very dirty and murky, and the Bermuda Triangle, while it is relatively clean water, it is not. You can't often see directly to the bottom unless it's very shallow. Like, no more than a story deep. And will you make this glass-bottom boat out of the windows of the submarine? I don't see where you'll get the glass. Aside from the fucking windows that you'll need to stay alive. And just what will you do for oxygen, Rich asked. Good question, echoed Pierre. And what will you idiots do for oxygen when she's taking your fucking windows? Water's fucking gushing into the sub. I need to do some critical thinking about that, Tom said. Said Tom. Oh, geez, I forgot. It's Tom saying this. Let's see if... Let's see, Oh, shit. It's not Tom saying this. It's Jane. Jane suggesting this, but this bitch forgot that. I forgot that too, apparently. Oh. I think I might be able to rig up something. We have plenty of oxygen tanks still left. I've never made a boat before, but there's a first time for everything. You don't want a boat. You want a cage. A glass fucking cage. I hope so, said Jane. If anyone can do it, you can, Tom. Another comma. Lost to the wind. You've always been so creative with your hands. Well, compared to you, anyone would be creative with their hands. Wow, Tom's really nice to his lover, isn't he? You can't even hammer a nail into the wall without splitting open your finger. Yeah, real nice, Tom said jokingly. Jane winced. She felt demeaned by Tom's comment, especially in front of the other men. Jane was a staunch advocate of women's rights. She hated to be patronized. This has nothing to do with women's rights. This has everything to do with just being nice to the person you're sleeping with. Picking up on Jane's displeasure, Franco intervened. Now stop it, you two. What? Jane didn't say anything. I've seen you fight with each other before. This is no time for a confrontation. We have work to do. Yeah, you're running out of oxygen. You better not fight. They'll use too much. Peter's remarks caused Jane to sober up. What? Why? There's nothing particularly comforting about that. Tom, eager to be of service, had already started work on the boat. It would be small because the Atlantis had limited supplies. Still, the concept was very viable. Yeah, ditch the safe sub for a nice big boat, even though boats have been known to sink in the Bermuda Triangle. Within hours, Tom, Jane, and the rest of the crew had rigged up a rough model of a glass-bottomed vehicle. Not spacious, but with plenty of oxygen aboard. Yeah, no oxygen in the sub, anyway. The plan was to leave early the next morning on the second expedition into the uncharted waters. Why not leave now? Using the well-equipped boat as an operating station for exploration. The crew seemed a bit calmer now that a plan had been devised. Everything rested on Tom and Jane's abilities to raise the Atlantis or signal for help. There were no other solutions. What, you're gonna raise the sub even though your plan involved taking the sub apart? That night the crew dined on the sparse food available. Hard bread, a piece of spam, and vegetable juice laced with vitamins. I'm pretty sure that spam is like a cream or something, not a meat or not something that you can get a piece out of. None of the men were happy with the food, but, as Rich commented, it was adequate to keep them filled up. After the meal, everyone settled down again for a night's rest. However, this time, sleep was not easy to achieve. The crew was clearly worried over its plight. In the morning, with great expectations, Jane and Tom set out again. Unfortunately, what they found that day was hardly what they had bargained for. In fact, the day ended up as a complete shock, a sort of fairy tale for which they were totally unprepared. Yes, because fairy tales are known for being shocking. Their training at NASA had been logical and practical. The present situation was fraught with the unexplained. Yeah, like, how the hell can we get a boat from the bottom of the ocean to the top of the ocean, with the ocean surface, without emptying the water first? In the meantime, far from the shuttle, events of an unprecedented nature were taking place. Oh God, no, please no, not the pointless ship, please don't make it a point. The Supranational Council had made plans to explore the world's highest mountains for clues to the ELF waves. Oh God. The Supranational Council is gonna be like like a comedic Lewis and Clark, like almost heroes sort of thing. What the antics? Fucking antics of the Supranational Council. Wonder what they're up to now. Ironically, Jane and Tom hadn't the slightest idea that they were in the miles of the answer to the riddle that had taken them into outer space. Oh, God. Oh, I knew it. The ELF waves that are quite literally causing mass chaos are coming from Atlantis. Yeah. Houston was assured that the crew was either dead or about to die from lack of food and oxygen, and the Supranational Council was absolutely positive that the Atlantis crew was dead. Despairing of the craft's survival, Houston issued a public statement which shocked the press, the entire nation, and the Supranational Council. They had given up searching for the Atlantis, they announced. Shell was absolutely lost. Well, why not look in the place that you noticed they were missing? Surely, with enough resources, you can scour the Bermuda Triangle. It's only about a few dozen miles, maybe a few hundred. It's not that big a piece of water. You could send a few submarines out, use a few battleships. Sure, if they sink, the subs will definitely stay afloat. They'll be available. Where was I? Yes, just as the United States and the world community mourn the disappearance of the Atlantis craft. You mean the destruction of the Atlantis craft, not the disappearance. The inner story of the search to find the ELF waves was only beginning. Answers to the questions about ELF were being demanded by people everywhere. They're already being demanded. That's why you sent the fucking shuttle Atlantis into space to begin with, you morons. Meanwhile, under the water, the survival of the Atlantis was the only game in town. Jane and Tom were determined to get the Atlantis lifted above the surface of the water as quickly as possible. Although they didn't know it at the time, their mission was far different. They were the key to saving planet Earth. Oh, God. Well, how else can we get the plot going? Not just the Atlantis shuttle. They were also unknowingly hot on the trail of the mysterious ELF waves. Raising the Atlantis was incidental compared to this important mission. Well, I don't expect the Atlantis to take the people of the Atlantis to get any credit for this at the end, because they're already assumed dead, and even if their survival was revealed, then the world would just assume that whatever the hell the Supranational Council did last worked. God. This book sucks. And we're not done yet.